So now I'm fitting the basin, and the reason that I like using this basin frame as opposed to sticking a bit of wooden stud work up there is because it gives you all the adjustability, gives you a really solid fixing. I mean, if you take, for instance, these basin bolts here, we're not talking about having to cut the bolt off. We can adjust that bolt with the screwdriver in or out to exactly where we want it. So that gives you that adjustability. And then even when you get down to the feed pipes, the supply, Abacus give you in the kit a couple of isolating valves, and they're not just any old isolating valve, nice isolating valve, but they've got a ready seal on there. When I first saw this, I didn't quite believe this, but it actually works really well. And then we've got a nut and olive for 10mm on there. But if we don't want to use the 10mm, if we want to go on with the 3/8 thread, we've got the 3/8 thread. But if we want to go onto a 1/2 inch tail, we've got a bush here, which obviously put PTFE round, and you can bush up. So you've got isolating valves in there in the kit. You're not chasing around looking for bits and pieces, and that to me is the thing that really makes your day a lot easier. So I've almost finished connecting this basin up. I just want to show you a couple of things about how we finish it underneath. We could use a semi-pedestal like this, and if you use this Abacus one, it's got these really clever cable tie systems. So you hang that onto the basin bolts and you thread the cable tie through there, and then you pull them up tight, and you can even release it if you need to. But you even get a spare cable tie with that. But we're not going to use that system here. What we're going to do is go for something that's also very popular. This is really stylish square trap, and it's fully adjustable, so we can adjust it for height. And if you're going onto a basin frame like this, you need the 35mm end. Now, a lot of people get you an adapter to do this, but they've actually swaged this pipe out so that you can go on to 35mm. But if you're not using a basin waste, if you want to go into a McAlpine trap or whatever, you can go into 32mm. So the 32mm will go there, and depending on which way you're going, depends on which end you cut that pipe from. So obviously if you're going 32mm, cut that end off. If you're going on the other end, cut that end off. So it's a versatile system. It allows you to get onto any basin And of course you've got a nice long length as well, which is very important in a lot, because sometimes you finish up a little bit short on these chrome pipes, which is a nuisance. So this is really all heavy duty brass, even when it comes to this cover plate here. Sometimes those are chrome pressed tin or whatever, but it's solid brass here. So for me, a really quality bit of kit. So now we come to fitting the wall hung pan, and this is something that worries a lot of older plumbers, my generation if you like, because they worry about them falling off the wall. Well, if I tell you this is tested to 400 kilos, I think that covers most people. And like all Abacus sanitary ware, this is made for them by a leading German brand, so the quality is absolutely guaranteed. You're not going to get much better than this. But of course, whichever type of pan you're fitting, whatever make, this WC frame will fit it. It's fully adjustable, so you're okay. And of course they fit in a variety of different ways. This particular one from Abacus has got this innovative side fixing on the bolt, which is really discreet, and it requires you to set the bolt out 35 millimeters from the tiled surface and then wind this on. So the idea is that if we set this 14 millimeters off the tiled surface, wind that in, and have that indent on the outside on both bolts. When the grub screw goes in, it's kind of tapered there, and as you tighten up, it pulls that pan really snugly against the wall. It's quite a clever little idea. So a little explanation as to how I cut this soil pipe and this flush pipe. What I like to do is put them both in position, snugly home where they're going to go. And when I've done that, I mark up on the back, and that gives me the position of the wall. So with both of those marked, I can then take out the debris stoppers, put the pipe in, and mark up where the wall is on the pipe. Now, when I take that mark and I take the other mark that I've made on the pipe, and the distance between those two marks is the amount I have to cut off the end of the pipe. But with this one, I cut a couple more mil off, just to allow me to push that pipe in without it hitting the end stop, because there's an end stop there, and if you push it in too far, if you cut that just a little bit too long, you run the danger of knocking that end stop on and pushing the pipe in too far into the flush pipe. So just a little tip, just cut it there, just 2 or 3 mil short, and you'll be fine. So same idea with the pan connector. We put it in, we're not trying to guess. We mark up the position, and that way we make sure that we're completely accurate. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to cut these accurately, because you don't want any trouble behind the pan, you don't want any leaks, and if you do it this way and you're careful about cutting, measuring and cutting, you'll make sure that it is perfect. So the great thing is that as you wind these in, it pulls the pan back against the wall, and some people worry and they're a little bit hesitant to wind that in, but you've got to make sure that's firmly against your tiling. So long as your tiling is perfectly supported behind, and that's about it. Tell you what, that's solid. So now we get to fit the flush panel, and in the past I've had a bit of trouble with this because one of the critical things is getting these rods to the right length so they operate freely. But with these ones, instead of having to cut them, you just simply turn them in, get them to the right length and click and turn. So it's a great system. It saves you cutting, and being plastic, they don't rust up. The whole of this can be serviced. We've got the float valve, the flush, and also we've got a little isolating valve here. So everything can be serviced from within this front panel. So there's a choice of different flush panels here. This one I'm going to be using is a rectangular 2-button, but there are many others to choose from. So whatever your customer wants, I'm sure there'll be one to suit them. So just one thing about these flushing systems is that they're actually all WRAS approved, and they come preset for the 6 and 3 litre flush, but you can reduce them if you need to by adjusting it. You know, one of the things that I really like about this bathroom is that it's built for easy serviceability. I've got isolating valves under the basin. I've got the manifold hidden under this shelf so that each component can be isolated very easily. The WC can be serviced entirely from behind that flush panel, which makes it even easier than a close coupled WC. And even the seat can be unclipped for easy cleaning.